let's think about just for a second. Some have raised the question that Whitehead's God is not religiously available, right? They've asked that sort of question. They said, well, it may be the case that Whitehead's God qualifies as the God of the philosophers, but it has little to offer for those who are interested in the God of religion, right? And notice this dichotomy that's made, that the God of philosophers is different from the God of religion. And my response is false. Okay, and we've already sort of seen that, but this will help just for a moment to bring out some of the ways in which that can be the case. For one, there's a real relationship that Whitehead is speaking of. Okay, and this is religiously significant, right? And on the whole, process thinkers have said that the relationality that's pictured, this intimate participation of God in the world, better supports the biblical data. Okay, or perhaps to get to that previous question, it depends upon your biblical data, right? But that God and the world are really related is something that's extremely significant for religious sensibility. If God and the world are unrelated completely, that seems to be unrelated to a religious sense, right? So this affirmation of religion, I think, or of relationship is very, very important. All right, well, what about love? Remember, Whitehead is talking about the tender elements that God is involved in. God's movement is on the tender elements which slowly in quietness operate by love, right? I think of Carl Jung's great statement where he says, most people don't see God because they don't look low enough, right? That God is like the underlying stream below our feet that is working tenderly, patiently. And Whitehead uses the language of love for that. If you want to define and understand love differently, feel free. But this to me seems to be an element that is significant religiously. How about God being the ground of the possibilities of the universe? Jeremiah 29:11, God is the ground of the hope in the future of your individual lives, of the life of the universe itself. Right? One way to put this is God's not behind you in the past, pushing the world a long time ago, but ahead of you, luring you into the future. God is the ground of the future. And modern theologians, Jürgen Moltmann and Suhaki and Karl Rahner have spoken of God as the future in this sense, right? Future is a mysterious thing. What about a suffering servant? Okay. Whitehead speaks in the language of God being the fellow sufferer who understands, a companion who feels and reacts to the detriments of the world and does what God can to overcome evil with good. Okay, a suffering servant. The language of incarnation. Okay, that God for Whitehead really is incarnating into the world in every single moment. He has that great statement, the world lives by its incarnation of God in itself. Okay, Whitehead arguably provides a metaphysics that can state what the incarnation, at least in Christian faith, is trying to get at in a more robust way, arguably. Okay, how about simply Emmanuel? The idea that God is truly with us. Okay, Whitehead speaks in the language of the ideal companion, a great companion, the language of character, right? Again, I mentioned you discern this character in the nature of things that's like that of a friend. Friends are with you. Companions travel with you, right? God is alongside the world as it unfolds, okay? How about this question of worthiness of worship? I love this statement. The immediate reaction of human nature to the religious vision, Whitehead says, is worship. True worship of God is not a rule of safety, but an adventure of the spirit. It's not something you do to appease omnipotent divine powers that might crush you if you don't. It's an adventure of the spirit. And I love that language of adventure of the spirit because I think, he doesn't say this, but I think that's what Whitehead would say faith essentially is. Okay? It's an adventure of the spirit. An adventure assumes an undetermined, doesn't assume a fixed future. An adventure of the spirit is open. It's something you go on with your companion in a certain way. And so I see all these, we could name more certainly, as being very religiously significant. So I would protest against the claim that Whitehead his God is not significant religiously.